why theatre matters. Like every sector of society over the last 30 years, since the disastrous rise of Thatcherism and the economic devastation it has brought to Britain, culture has taken a big hit. Ideas that years ago seemed insanely right-wing are now considered normal, such as cutting social security to the point where tens of thousands are losing their shelter, people with serious diseases are walking miles to food banks on a daily basis, the rich increasing their income and paying no tax, while the rest of us face genuine insecurity and misery. And while this disaster unfolds, the means of communication are getting further and further out of the reach of ordinary people. Lies and deceit are everywhere. The free press, which should probably be called the very expensive press, based on what they pay Fleet Street hacks, seem more like a pack of attack dogs chewing up the truth, while the few sane voices are drowned in the sea of disinformation. It seems to me, after many years working as a professional scriptwriter, that our culture has been as badly deformed by the dictates of the big dollar as good socialist art and culture was under Stalinism. Instead of asking how do we please the mighty censor, a modern TV producer has to ask, how do we make money out of this? And of course, if you're poor or black or both, research shows that most things of real cultural value in our society are either out of reach completely or not made for you in the first place. But, in the middle of all this crap, British theatre is, at least in part, an oasis in this cultural desert. Rather than sanitised or stupid entertainment or glittery distortions and fantasies, theatre has remained a place where sometimes audiences can see work that tells the real truth or explores alternative views and sometimes sticks two fingers up at the system. I'm not talking about the vast array of expensive musicals here which have sprung up these last couple of decades, some of which are undoubtedly very entertaining but which usually aspire to no more than to become a billion-dollar show. I'm talking about struggling local theatres and travelling theatre companies, often run by people who are struggling economically and will probably one day have to leave the industry to earn money somehow, somewhere else, but are, for now, still clinging to the dream of a better life and a better society. Most of these theatre groups and buildings are funded from public money. Somehow they manage to cling to the notion that our cultural life matters for reasons other than profit making, that truthful words can change the world, and that the airing of radical or different views is a vital part of our lives. And yes, you need money to make a show that can do this, but you need a hell of a lot less than you do to make a Netflix show or a movie or a billion-dollar musical. So somehow the tradition lives on. And yes, alternative theatre struggles to publicise itself. Yes, a lot of it happens in London, and yes, some of it is up itself. But there's a lot of amazing theatre out there, still, all over the country, and if you look for it, you will find it. Theatre can and will turn your life upside down. It can change the life of the young as it did mine all those years ago when I first found it in an obscure corner of Birmingham I had no idea it was there. I've seen fantastically entertaining and moving plays in recent years about child abuse, 0 hours contracts and casualisation, about racism, domestic violence, prisons, crime, foreign policy disasters, corruption, immigration, pollution and war. I myself wrote a play called The Political History of Smack and Crack that made the link between the advent of Thatcherism, the 1981 inner city riots that see their 40th anniversary this year, and the massive heroin epidemic that followed in their wake. Sounds heavy, yeah? Actually, it was a wild comedy that still made people cry at the end. Make no mistake about it, the pandemic will give the current government a great big excuse to continue their ravenous eternal austerity drive. They have every intention of cutting deeper and deeper into the money they currently pay to every sector and will use every device to divide us against one another. Every penny they cut will go to pay off the billionaires who are using the disaster to continue their takeover of everything. They'll say, how can you expect us to pay for grassroots football or TV licences for the elderly or theatre when we're having to make tough decisions like cutting disabled benefits and closing hospital wards? The real truth is, and the research shows this, there's more than enough out there to go around. They don't need to cut a thing. All the debts can be paid by collecting due taxes off corporations that are taking over everything, and especially the means of communication, plus a little more on our income tax. It's actually very simple. but the people who control the airwaves would have you believe it isn't. We have to stand together to protect every inch of cultural ground against those that would tear it out from under our feet. We have to fight to keep theatre relevant, to let people in who are currently shut out, and we have to fight to make work that challenges an increasingly, and I just don't know what else to call it, fascistic system. In fact, I'm going to write a play about this.